100 holes dug. These T-posts that you see at each fig is going to serve a few purposes. And I'm going to talk about one of them in this video, and that is drip irrigation. This is 100 holes dug. You can see some white 5-gallon containers there. Old sucralose buckets that I repurposed, shoot, a long time ago, maybe 10 years ago. And those are going to be additional figs that aren't planted out here that may either replace some that may die next winter out here in the open. If I get lucky and don't have many losses, then any extras I'll plant along the fence line there, trying to do what I call favorites and duplicates. The next step is to add wire, and that's so the drip will have something that won't sag, because 1/2-inch poly tubing, when it gets full, it'll start to sag. So I'm going to put wire all the way down, but there's 4 main rows. Man, I'm a little out of breath. And there's some more over there, but I'm going to weave it like this, and I'm going to attach it at this end first and go all the way to the end, then come over in the second row, come all the way back, go over to the third, all the way down, fourth, over and back. So this is the wire, and I don't remember the specs of it, but I believe it's either stainless steel or the other kind that's sort of, you know, more or less waterproof. It's made for the outdoors. So that's the wire that's going to support the drip tubing, the 1/2-inch drip tubing. I'm going to secure it to each T-post with these zip ties wrapped twice, and the ends are going to be secured with this, and this is a wire clamp, and this is what I'm going to use to tighten the wire clamp. This is 1,000 feet of wire, and it came with these cutters, and it'll probably be in my Amazon store. I'm sure that's where I'll put it if you want to see what I'm using. Of course, you ever use my links in the Amazon store to buy for yourself, there's no extra charge at all. Amazon doesn't charge you more, and it leaves me a little bit of commission because I sent you there. So let's get started. I'll start with one end. As you can see here, this is my cart. It's Groundworks cart. I love this cart. It lifts up. And I took my EMT bending tool, because it's steel, and put it through the wire cylinder there. So because it's steel and it's not going to, you know, I thought about using PVC, but that would weight down and go wonky on me and stuff like that. So I attached it to the cart with a couple zip ties to keep it in place. That way I can just walk it down. Be real easy, less strain on me. There's a wire fixed at this end, and then I double wrap one long zip tie. This is pretty strong zip tie at every T-post. Now, it doesn't need to be cattle panel or cattle fence tight at all. It just needs to help with the sagging. That's the only purpose of it, to keep it from kinking and sagging too much. And so I'm able to pull the cart up. I'll pull it all the way to the end this time, then I'll just fix them. It goes real quick. The wire's up, and I'm sure you can see the flapping flags, the white flapping flags. That is so I don't accidentally hit it with my head while mowing or something, because sometimes I mow later in the evening and this is not going to be as visible. The flags will help me make sure. It may add an extra benefit of keeping deer out, and the reason why I say that is because if you look at my lazy garden back there, it's got 4 rows. Let me go over here and ducking underneath these things. And by the way, that's the reason why I place these high along with the irrigation, is that so I can go underneath it and maneuver the lawnmower underneath it without having to lay mulch or anything. I don't want to do that. So over here, if you look, you can see I've got a little fence here, and then the cattle panel trellis. I've got 4 of them. And before I did this, the deer were in here all the time. They would jump, and they would jump the little fence here, and they would eat and do whatever, and you could see the droppings. And then I've even come out here and they've rushed and smashed into the fence because they were worried I was going to get them somehow. But anyway, since I put this up, and I kind of knew that when I put this up, deer don't like to be trapped, so they won't jump this fence if they think, you know, if there's another second fence close to it or a third, they just won't jump it. And I've found that to be the case. And so when I put this up here, part of the reason why I'm raising the wire high along with the drip tubing is so not only maneuver underneath it, but also potentially deter deer. If they walk up to it and they're like, man, there's something standing here and it's right on the other side too, they may not get in here and do damage. Now, it's not just that they may or may not eat the figs, because I've heard differing stories that deer will eat figs, leaves, excuse me. But what they'll do, especially the males, is they will rub up against the figs and break them off and do damage and stuff like that. I've seen that a lot with my fruit trees over there when I had them and they were newly established. And so I want to make sure that, you know, the new ones are protected in as many ways as possible without being inconvenient for me. That's kind of what these cages are. Those cages they went around those white pots that are over there, and that's what I use to trellis tomatoes, and I'd wrap cucumbers around it and vining squash around it and grow it up. I've got videos on that from a long time ago. But yeah, the cages, they're going to go over the figs. I'm going to zip tie them to this so I can take it off easily, and that'll just be an extra protection measure for the little ones until they get more established. So the next thing to do is, you guessed it, put the drip tubing, and I'm just going to zip tie it to this. Got a similar thing going on now. I'm going to add the drip tubing. This is, I think, 1/2 inch roughly. It's typical standard 1/2 inch primary tubing. I've got some fittings to hook it together, zip ties to attach it to the cable, and this is a hose end piece or connection to the garden hose or wire or anything like that. Anyway, I'll go ahead and install all this. It's essentially going to be following the wire. There's no need to go too much step by step, and it'll keep you kind of informed of how I'm doing it and not make it too lengthy to enjoy. I've got the 1/2 inch poly across the wire, zip tied. I'm going to snip off the little zip tails as I put in the drip part, which is coming up next. And then we'll probably polish off the video with a trial run and water run to see how it drips and see how it does. So this is the next bit of tools that I need to do the next operation, which is install the drip emitters into the pipe, the 1/2 inch poly tubing that you just saw. That was a couple days ago for me. Anyway, these are self-cleaning drip emitters, 1 gallon per hour, and this is what they look like opened up. I don't mean self-cleaning. They're supposedly self-cleaning, but you can also clean them out by just unscrewing them and just getting the dirt out. And so I'm not going to attach these directly to the tubing, because if this messes up, I'll have to pull them out. So instead what I'm doing is I'm attaching them to a bit of 1/4 inch, and I'm using one of these, which is a male, and attach it to the tubing, and then the tubing is attached to the emitter. And then I'll show you how it's routed. The one piece that I'm not showing here is, what is the one piece? I'm not, zip tie to hold it against the T-post, because it's going to drip down the T-post into where the T-post is inside the hole where the fig is. So this is a tool that makes a hole, and it's better than trying to punch it by hand, but there is this tool here also allows me to punch it by hand if I need to. And the other side has a little area here where you can use this to push it into the hole once it's assembled with the tube and the male piece and the emitter to that. I've got my tool belt on, and I've got all the pieces I showed you just now in the tool belt, so I can walk around easily and take care of it in an efficient way. So here's the theory and practice. It was in my head until now. So push the plug in, it comes around here. I've got a zip tie holding it against the T-post here. It should drip out and follow the T-post all the way down into the hole there. Of course, this will be filled in, but the water dripping in will create a small, it'll keep a small little hole open and feed the fig. So that's the concept. We're going to test the system overall, the drip irrigation. So it's on auto, it's on. I'm going to turn it on manually for 20 minutes. And that'll click on, you'll see it quit blinking, and you'll hear water. There it is. Now let's go out to the garden. I have a garden hose coming out here from the faucet, and it's plugged into a Y here. I hope to replace the garden hose with some in-ground PVC this year, but I might not get to it. We'll see. But I've got a Y here. One goes to the orchard and one goes to the lazy garden, and you can see it's dripping right now. And I have it going to the lazy garden only so that you can see water's coming to it, and to delay the going to the orchard until I show you something else here. Now I've tested it, and you'll see some water in there. I have tested it, and I've got these cups zip tied on here because I want to get an idea of how consistently it waters from one end of the orchard all the way to the other end. I've got 6 cups here. I got one here, one right over there, one down there, one back over there. Anyway, I've got 6 of them, and I'll show you that. And there's one on the very end there. But the first thing I need to do is make sure that these are empty, because when I did it before, even though I turned it off and emptied it, the water continues to run for a little bit into the cups. So I need to empty the cups, and then we'll turn the water onto the orchard, and we'll just time how much liquid's in each cup for a period of time, and then I'll be able to do calculations from that. All right, I've emptied the cups, and now I'm going to turn the orchard on and the lazy garden off, and you should be able to hear the spitting of air out of the hose. Now these are supposed to be pressure compensating fittings. Hear that air? And so it should wait for this pipe to be completely full up and pressure to build, and then these should all go at the same time. That's the concept. In reality, the one closest to the water source will begin to drip before the air is out of the entire system. So, got my little Samsung phone out. And I hit start, and then I'll put this off like that so I can, it should show it running. There it is, under stopwatch, 11 seconds. So yep, let's wait and see what happens. It's not even been a minute yet, and this one's already over half full. Let's walk down to another one, the nearest one to it, which is I think on the second row. And we'll just kind of go as we go this way. So it's literally been about a minute, minute and a half. And this one's already got a good bit of water in it too. We'll just check all 6. How about that? You can hear that one dripping. So the great thing is that the water pressure from the house will do all the figs. Look at that one. That one's about the same. I'm surprised. And that is really good. I mean, it was a concern of mine. I knew from the lazy garden there that it would do all 180 pots before, no problem. This one's a little bit lower, and this is on the far end. And we got one right over there. We'll check this one first. Yeah, so that's good news. So far, I'm seeing pretty equal watering in all the 6 cups. Look at that, that's the 6th one. Let me take out my phone and we'll show you. In that short amount of time here, I've got over half full. And there we go, under 3 minutes. And that's really good. I'm really happy with that. I expect it would take a lot more to water these figs. So one of these cups should be 16 ounces.
So I'll be able to extrapolate 16 ounces. I'm just going to hit resume for, stop for about 3 seconds. But I should be able to tell, and we'll just sit here at this one, when this overflows, how long that is. And since we're almost there, I'll just continue to film.
Now, newly established trees, your 1 and 2, 3 year old fig trees, they're going to need a good bit of moisture in the beginning. After that, they'll set the roots deep and they'll find their own moisture. You won't ever have to do it again. Although I would like the option to keep it for fertigation, which is water-soluble fertilizer going to the figs every once in a while. And figs don't need a lot of fertilizer either. So we're looking at, it's about to tip over the edge here, right at 5 minutes for this one. There it is, it's about to break the edge, and there it did. And we're at 5 minutes on the nose pretty much for 16 ounces. Let's see, we'll take a quick look at the others. Now, this stuff is important. I think it's valuable information. It certainly is for me.
This one's just under a full cup, so that's pretty good. You got one over here that's just under a cup. About 5 minutes, and I imagine the others are the same. I'll check one more. I just don't want to make the video too long. You know, we're dripping here, so the pressure compensating actually did pretty good. So let me turn around here, and you can see the amount of watering that needs to be done here. This is 100 spots for the figs, and it looks like it's doing a really good job. Now when it's going, you can see here, you can't see it, but it is actually following down my camera. Let me turn my camera back on the back. I can't see if it's filming. Yeah, it's filming still. So it's actually flowing. It's just running down the T-post, and that was by design. That's why I put it up against the T-post here, so it can go all the way down the T-post. And the T-post should generate a small little hole in the area where it goes into the ground, and that'll keep the fig roots nice and hydrated, hopefully.
Let's do one last check, and that is looking at the holes and seeing if the holes have water in them. Water in the holes. How about that? These are going to be some happy figs. Happy figs. Now I've got clay with a lot of rock, as you can see here. This one's not quite as aggressive for some reason. It's flowing good though. So I've got a lot of clay here with a lot of rocks, so I have to be careful planting them, but hopefully they'll do fine. All right, that's it for the drip irrigation. I'm going to remove the cups and take off some of these extra tails and stuff, clean it up better. The next part of the fig orchard is going to be the actual planting, and that'll be fun. That should be the final video on it before the follow-ups and whatnot. So this is Brent, you guys. Thanks for watching.